Tyler, a decade of marriage. We're in the thick of our dream of living life together. Oh, and raising a family. This is it, and it is so, so good. I think when I reflect on the last 5 years, I see so many hard things intertwined with so many good things, and maybe that's the point. That God continues to give us challenges that strengthen our dependence on Him and show us more of who He made us to be. The last 5 years have undeniably been filled with great change, most noticeably in the size of our family as we've doubled in numbers. But between you and me, we both know so much more growth has taken place within our walls, our hearts, and our minds, and our marriage. It was just before our 5th anniversary that you leaned over to me at my grandpa's funeral and said, I want this. I want to leave a legacy. We'd been praying through whether or not to try to have children, and that prayer was answered at his funeral because it was then that you and I both felt the answer to trying to grow our family was yes. Just under a year later, we found out we were pregnant. Ipo, our nickname for our growing babe as our initial public offering, solidified our decision to renovate our kitchen and home. The morning sickness subsided. Do you think I ate enough Pizza Ranch taco pizza? We spent the next 3 months turning a very beige ranch style home into a beautiful space that feels so right for our family. We managed to redo our landscaping in the midst of all this too, starting to feed into my flower frenzy. And we left just enough time and energy to create a cozy, gender-neutral nursery space. Pregnancy, labor, and renovating showed me a new level of your selflessness, love, and devotion. In the morning sickness, the exhaustion, the renovation deadlines, the discomfort of sleeping, the cravings, the foot cramps, the insecurity, the irrational fears, the all-nighter of labor, and all the in-betweens, you constantly put me first, loving me and our growing baby selflessly. It's a girl, you told me shortly after Mackenzie K made us parents on November 9, 2019. My heart leapt with joy. Those first few months held joy and challenges hand in hand as we navigated our new reality. I decided to leave my job to stay home with Ken's, and then COVID shut the world down in March of 2020. It's about you. What a time to become parents. And while many might look at the aftermath of COVID with disdain, I think we both look back at it with a certain level of gratitude, knowing how life slowed down and we soaked in so many of the big and little moments of Mackenzie's first year. And then before we knew it, a positive pregnancy test meant Peyton was on her way. It took a minute for me in particular to wrap my head around another November baby, but God knew what He was doing and gave us much redemption in Peyton's pregnancy. This time we decided to find out the gender at your leading, though we lied about knowing to everyone until she was born. When we opened the ultrasound text note, it's a girl, we both knew her name was Peyton. I think this was one of many instances where you knew me better than I knew myself, because the joy of knowing we were due with another girl was our little secret, and so great and so motivating. Sisters, our legacy includes raising sisters, and I'm still not over this gift. We celebrated with pink candies and drinks. You had bought both colors so we could celebrate accordingly either way, another instance of your extreme thoughtfulness. There were less to-dos and unknowns the second time around. We turned my office into a big girl room for Mackenzie, complete with the floral wallpaper I fell in love with to make sure the nursery was ready for Peyton. You got a promotion to management after Mark's retirement and navigated the extra pressure and responsibility with such ease. We bought a minivan I found on Facebook Marketplace, and we accomplished a major goal we'd set, paying off our home so we could welcome Peyton into a debt-free world. And while I worried most of her entire pregnancy that each girl wouldn't get their own birthday, God knew better. Peyton came perfectly early, as not to miss out on celebrating Big Sister's birthday. She was born on November 5, just 4 days before Mackenzie turned 2. And now we've seemed to hit a bit of a stride. We've survived 2 rounds of sleep training, nursing, teething, nap transitions, and a round of potty training. Our house is consistently covered in a layer of Cheerio dust, hand-printed windows, and evidence of play. But our days are filled with the pitter-patter of little feet, playing outside, mainly music, songs, princess everything, zoo and park trips, squeezy hugs, big giggles from tickling, water play, walks to the tunnel or the bears, reading books, play dates, family adventures, chase around the island, fixing problems with kisses, and so much more. It's physically exhausting to have 2 little humans who need help with most everything, but undoubtedly worth it. And lately, our girls seem to be settling into each other's best playmates. You and I just exchange a look across the room. We both know big love happens in these small moments. 5 years ago, you wrote to me, we need to keep going through the hard times in order to grow, but I hope there's a lot of good along the way too. It's like you foretold these 5 years perfectly in that one sentence. There were so many hard times, trying to get pregnant, being pregnant, the popcorn ceiling escapade, postpartum, transitioning to life with littles, sleepless nights, COVID, new family dynamics and boundaries to navigate, counseling, my kidney stone, saying goodbye to Kodak, Peyton's lip tie removal, and more. But when I look back 5 years at you, my love for you has only grown and deepened. What joy I've had to see you become a dad, to lean on each other with a new level of vulnerability and dependence, to watch your confidence grow in a management position at work, to see you do the hard work of understanding yourself and expressing your emotions better, continue to feel prioritized, seen, and cared for as your wife amidst this busy season of life with littles. Your plate is undoubtedly full, and you somehow manage to serve each of your callings with diligence, commitment, and love. In the words of Taylor Swift, which only seems fitting given our recent rendezvous to see her live, you are the best thing that's ever been mine. So as I look ahead to the next 5 years, I hope it's filled with more growth and good, more late night talks and dreaming on the porch, more walks and bike rides with our girls, more vacations where we show our girls God's big world, more flowers in the garden, more nights walking the country club, more budget meetings and intentionality with our finances, more leading from God to some of the big questions we're asking, more following His will. But whatever is in store, I'm forever grateful it will happen with you by my side. I love you forever and always. Your girl.
Dear Lindsay, Mackenzie, and Peyton, where do we even start in remembering and processing the last 5 years? To remember back to years that don't include our girls feels like it should be decades, and in some way doesn't even seem to make sense. And yet in this relatively small 5-year window of time, we have gone from 2 to 4. We've doubled the heartbeats and exponentially grown the love in our home to a degree we didn't know possible. 5 years ago, we were planning a trip to New York City, a trip that would go down as possibly our favorite trip and vacation of all time. Little did we know that our next trip following that would be to Texas and be a celebration of new life, and that it would be on this trip that we first told someone that we were expecting a baby in November. 5 years ago, we were buying paint, exterior lights, and preparing to update the outside of our home to give it a fresh look. That project gave us the confidence we needed to do a full-on interior renovation, which, despite the polka music and the terrible heat and humidity while we were trapped in the basement, came together in a more beautiful way than we expected. Our renovation culminated in the prep and decoration of the nursery, which, while not as spacious or elaborate as we might have dreamed, has been a safe space for us and our children in their beginning years. A space that they've slept, cried, pooped, fed, and played in. A room that is in the center of our home and which has been the nucleus for our family's growth in both figurative and literal ways. 5 years ago, we worked. I was an employee seeking to prove myself in this role that I knew I had capability and passion for, but just hadn't seemed to click into fully yet. You were working at a job that was healthy, but wasn't quite right, and working extra hours with photography and design on top of it. When we came home, we kept working, developing a garden space, landscaping, grass, and structure that we knew would be valuable for ourselves and our children, but we didn't fully understand. Now we are blessed beyond what we thought through and considered as we enjoy having the girls help pick beans and tomatoes, water flowers and plants, play on slides and swings in a beautiful space that at times was the only space we could be in during a scary and unknown world of COVID. It's so amazing to see how these things we were enjoying, working on, and working towards 5 years ago have brought us to this beautiful place we are today. God has seen us through some difficult and dark days as we transition from these two sides of life. Our new pace has been slower in the minutes and hours and so much faster in the months and years. It's hyper-focused on our beautiful children and their needs and development, and less focused on the outside world and big picture goals. This change has not always been easy, but it has refined us and made us better as a result. This past half decade saw COVID and the pandemic that came with it adventures working on our home and traveling. We've gained new friends and deepened many of those in ways we didn't expect. We jokingly bought small rooms in our home as we paid down our mortgage, which ultimately culminated in finalizing that on your birthday in 2021, less than 3 weeks before we brought Peyton home. The Lord gave us vision and energy to enjoy the process as we prepared for these special years and to allow us to intentionally soak in each beautiful day of our little family. It has truly been a monumental time in our lives. Lindsay, we've learned to trust each other in a much deeper and meaningful way in the last 5 years. We stood on the foundation that we built in our dating days and early marriage years, in telling each other and telling the other what we need, and knowing the other one will always rise up to meet us. It wasn't always perfect or even pretty at times, but it was oh so wonderful walking these years with you. I've seen you grow in your intentionality, both for yourself and others. You have learned to fill your cup in order to be able to pour out love on our girls, the friends you've developed, and the other aspects of the life that God has called you to. You have stepped into this role and loved it. First with Ken's in the slow early days of an eldest newborn, and now into a hectic stage of moving, communicating little humans with preferences and wills that often surpass your own. So many times you've reflected on this as the only job you've ever loved, on the hard days still being good, and just admiring the love and personalities that our girls have. I don't know how you do it, let alone how you do it so well, but I'm proud of you and confident in the wife, mother, and friend that you've become. Thank you for being your intentional, gracious, and above and beyond self. Mackenzie, we learned so much since we first found out about you. You motivated us to be better, to pass tests, tear down and build up walls, and so much more. And as you grow and learn, your heart for others, the empathy you show, and the joy that you find each day continues to motivate me to do more of the same. That is, to be better, to tear down walls, and to find joy in each day. Peyton, you have balanced our family more than we ever expected or knew was possible. Our hearts knew how to prepare more clearly as our second baby was born, and we leaned into this amazing experience with you. Your smile and laughter have brought us so much joy. You are always looking to have fun, want to be just like your older sister, and pour out love each day. This is getting a bit long and a bit teary now as I write it, but I also wanted to look forward. And as I look to the future and what hopes or dreams I have for it, I was struck by a line from my notes as we prepared for this video 5 years ago. I don't want to wish anything specific for the future because I don't think there's anything on my list of hopes and dreams that I would be disappointed in not having in 5 years, as long as we have grown in our faith and in our marriage and can continue to point to the reason for our existence. This holds true today and expands now to Mackenzie and Peyton. Whether our family is larger or the same, whether we've traveled to more marvelous places or stayed home every day, and no matter what comes our way, in 5 years, we will have succeeded if our marriage, our family, and our faith have grown in our depth and remained strongly knit together as we adventure forward. All my love.